Welcome to the end of the theme park creator series for the month of May. I'm on the clock now, so I'm going to be answering all the questions and I'm going to be telling some stories along the way. So sit back, relax, enjoy. We also have some fan questions that have come in as well, so those will be at the end. Surprisingly, it's Epcot. I've always been a big fan of Disneyland, and that's my home park, and I have special ties to Universal Studios Hollywood, but Epcot is very special, very unique, very different. It's a park that I feel like I could spend like a month in and not explore the whole thing. A lot of that's got to do with the World Showcase. I feel like I could spend so much time in just each individual country. And then with that, even the front of the park, I'm a big animal lover, so I love Finding Nemo, the aquarium, everything going on there. Living with the Land, I'm a big fan of. Figment, and then Cosmic Rewind is really, really good. So Epcot's just always had a special feel for me, and I feel like I could just spend days on days there. Ellen's Energy Adventure in Epcot, it no longer exists. The interesting thing about this is 1997. I was 8. I went to Disneyland a few times before that, local fairs, things like that. So there's footage of me riding stuff at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. The dark rides, the teacups, things like that. But I don't have any memory of that. But the reason I have a memory of this one is my dad actually had a heart attack on this ride in 97. So my first memory on a ride was actually going through the whole process of paramedics showing up, us running around Epcot, me pushing my sister's stroller when she must have been 3 or 4 when it happened. But yeah, my first memory on a ride is I've been trying to rack my head around it, and that's the first one that comes to mind is that moment. 55 is the number, and the 55 is the number I've been trying to beat for a while. It is very difficult. I did this back, I believe it was probably '08. It was '07, '08, or '09. Kind of hard. I can't completely remember the year, but me and my sister used to go very, very hard when we were in high school and my first years of college. We would run through the parks. Those were the good old days where you got the fast pass slips and the late let's say like 9 to 10, but that 10 number didn't matter. You could redeem that until the day's end. So we would rack up fast passes, and those last few hours we would we would do crazy things where we would ride the Incredicoaster 5 times in a row, or we'd ride, Tower of Terror, a bunch of times in a row. We'd do Space Mountain, 2 or 3 times, Indiana Jones 2 or 3 times in the last few hours. Those were the good old days. But yeah, we were able to get 55 done. We would be nuts though. We wouldn't stop. I really didn't eat much of the parks. We would just run around and try and pick up as many rides as possible. And yeah, 55 is the number that I remember. And hopefully one day with a challenge, I can top that number. It's very difficult though. Got to pick the right day and got to do it 8 to 12. Favorite Star Wars character, so I'm a big fan of the droids. I have always been a big fan of R2-D2. Over the last 10 years, BB-8 has also become a fan favorite, or a favorite of mine. Always been it also recently been very intrigued by Porg, which is funny. But yeah, the droids, R2-D2 in particular, I'm just going to go with the Dole Whip. It's the one thing that I consistently always go back to. I'm not a huge fan of what's going on at Disney these last, I don't know, it's probably further back than this, but I'd say just the last 5 years. They've been testing out a lot of foods, bringing in a lot of different things during these seasonal events and things like that, which is all great and dandy, but seems like a lot of the food, at least at Disneyland, in my opinion, has gone downhill a little bit, which is unfortunate. I love to experiment. I as you guys probably remember, I reviewed 5 to 600, actually 700 reviews. This is a lot. Over the last few years here, and yeah, I've seen a quality go down, and the Dole Whip has been consistent though, and I have to say I've been very impressed with the Dole Whip. um, as a snack, and can't go wrong with that. I love the Piranha Pool at Trader Sam's. One of my favorite drinks, period. It is not cheap, but it is loaded, and it's a big one. And if you can get the souvenir cup still, it's a great souvenir cup as well. It's got a lot of alcohol in there. I will not lie. Um, Non-alcoholic. I love the Jungle Julep Bengal barbecue. I kind of call it a Skittles slushy. So it gives you a lot of energy, and when I get it, I'm kind of bouncing off the walls a little bit. But those two drinks are really, really good. Also, just the plain mint julep, super good, especially on warm days. It's a good get. But those two are kind of above the mint julep for me. That's a like a bronze medal. I'm gonna just stick to Disneyland on this one, and Space Mountain. Space Mountain was always the ride that I started with when I was younger. I would love doing the Space Mountain, try and knock out everything in Tomorrowland as fast as possible, go to Matterhorn, make our way up. And some of you might be too young to remember this, but there was a time where DCA didn't open up until 10 o'clock. So Disneyland would open up at 8 and DCA would open up at 10. And what we used to do is we'd rope drop, do space, pick up fast passes, Star Tours, Buzz, Matterhorn, and Roger Rabbit, and do that whole deal, and then catch the train or try to quickly get to the front of the park again to jump over to DCA and go rope drop over there at 10 o'clock and do Incredicoaster or Toy Story Midway Mania. You get a double rope drop back in those days. For nostalgia reasons, Space Mountain always will have a place in my heart as being my favorite rope drop. I know recently I've been doing a lot of, recently it was the last 3 years, I've been doing a lot of Big Thunder, a lot of Indiana Jones, but Space Mountain is definitely my favorite. I'll say this really quick too. Two rides that are fairly heavily rope dropped. Actually, let me say one more thing before I say that. Peter Pan's also a very good rope drop as well. That's a really good one. But I'm going to say two that I think are horrible rope drops. And a lot of people do them, and they just eat up time. Rise is a horrible rope drop. It's such a distance to get out there. And then, you're racing with so many people, and it's a long attraction. So I've done it a couple times, but some of my worst rope drops, the amount of attractions that I've been able to do in the first 90 minutes, come with that Rise. The other one too is Pirates. I don't understand that. I hear a lot of people rope drop Pirates, and I don't know why. It's a long ride. For the most part, the line moves pretty quick. I mean, if you want to get it early in the day, go around 9, maybe 9:30 even. On most days, that line is not that bad, and it moves quick. There are endless amounts of creators that have helped me on my journey. It's very hard just to say one. I'm going to back up a little bit here. 8 years ago today, I broke my leg at Disneyland, of all places, and I was not able to go to Disneyland for obvious reasons for quite some time. During that time, I discovered the Disneyland YouTubers, and that really got me interested of this being a possibility, basically. And throughout the next, 6 years, I was very busy with work, and next, not 6 years, I was already doing stuff at that point. So actually, maybe it would have been 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So next about 5 years, I was very busy with work, but always thinking, this would be something fun. And, I started doing something Disney related, social media related in 2021 just for fun on the side. And it turned into something much greater, which I never really expected. So if there was like a start point to inspire it, it would have been a lot of those original YouTubers, Disney YouTubers, from the 2010s. And then kind of going forward, everyone in this space, brings inspiration to create more, to be better. A lot of my inspiration though also comes from my viewers and the people that are there every single day and the people that I meet in the parks. I try to be as good and genuine and real who I am as a person so you guys can trust me, but I try to be. I know how it goes, having had my broken leg and not being able to really go outside for, a time. I was not able to go to, my favorite place for a very long time. I know there's a lot of people that aren't able to get to Disneyland, or Disney World, or, the different parks I go to, and I try to bring that to them. And I always say this, kind of going on a bigger tangent, but like I always say and encourage everyone to watch all these different creators because you don't know who you're going to relate to the most. And I think it's important to kind of see who you mesh with the best. I mean, I'm not that big of a shopping person, but maybe you are. I love going on rides. I think that's why a lot of people follow me. But I'm inspired by you guys. I hope I always put a smile on your face and do good. Um, I know I fall short of meeting people in the parks. I wish I was much better at that. I see people like Jeremy and Megan and how they meet people in the parks, and they're just so good at it. And they're such great great people. Um, I've met kids in the parks, and they've come up to me and be like, "Hey, thank you so much," and you know, people of all ages, and I try my best to really show them and just be like, "Hey, dream big, and you're really my inspiration because of what you could do could be so much greater than what I'm doing right now." Um, so you guys really inspire me to continue going. First Disney movie I saw, first one that comes to mind is I saw The Lion King in theaters, and that was what, 94. But I remember also seeing Beauty and the Beast, and that was probably a little bit before that. Those are the first two that really come to mind. But I know I saw Lion King in theaters, um, but Beauty and the Beast probably at home, Lion King theaters. Well, this one's pretty interesting because there's actually a lot of parks I have not been to, and I'm gonna just kind of keep this to the States at this point because I've never been to an international park, so they're just gonna push that to a side. Let's keep this local-ish. So the first ones that come to mind: Universal Orlando. I've been to none of them. So those are the top three. Epic obviously just opened, Islands of Adventure, and then Universal Studios, Florida, Orlando, never been. So got to do all three of those. The one that is embarrassing for me to say, because I lived in San Diego, never been to Legoland in San Diego. Real bad. I need to go to those four parks before I can say anything else. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Cosmic Rewind is very impressive at Epcot, and if you are able to get there one day, that is the ride in Disney World that you have to ride. For the longest time, it was Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom. Still top 5 easily. Rise of Resistance also is up there. That mine just blows my mind. But Cosmic Rewind is awesome. Worst Disney attraction? It's its neighbor. It's the neighbor of Cosmic Rewind. Mission Space sucks. And also, I'm going to just throw it in there as well. Finding Nemo subs also sucks. But the Mission Space, I'm going to give Mission Space actually the edge just by a tad. And here's why. Mission Space should just get ripped down and they should put something else there. I get the restaurant's really cool. I've heard good things about it. I've never been in there, but that ride's just not good, and just we know it's just not good. Here's the one thing I'll say with the saving grace about the subs: the water and the pictures you can take by the subs are really good, especially with the Matterhorn in the background at times and at night. it looks really cool. So the ride itself is terrible. Tight, stinky, all those things. But at least the view outside from the ride is fine. Mission Space brings nothing to the table. So I'm going to go 1A, 1B. The 1B of Finding Nemo subs getting a little bit saved in the aspect of you can create some great pictures outside the ride. Favorite after hours event. So I'm not the greatest one to ask here. I've only been to 2. Oogie Boogie Bash, had a lot of fun with that one. And then I also went to Universal Studios Hollywood Fan Fest, which was actually very, very cool and blew my mind. I'm very happy to hear that they're bringing that back for 26. And I'm actually going to give that the edge. Especially, and here's really the deal breaker for me, is the Back to the Future experience, the Hill Valley thing that they had down there, where they're basically recreating the movie. Fantastic. Super, super cool. I think I've said it before. I could have spent my whole time down there following around the different characters because you get so many different point of views of what is going on. So, yeah, I give the edge to FanFest. They did a great job with it, and I'm gonna give that the 2 thumbs up and my favorite after hours event. This one should be a no-brainer to a lot of people. I am a big Oregon Ducks fan. Love their football and basketball programs. That's my ride or die. I don't have too much else to say about that, but I've been a fan for 25 years and continuing to go forward with that. My second one would be the Arizona Cardinals, that is tough living, because for every one good year we have 3 horrible years. So it's a tough life on that one. But Oregon Ducks take the cherry on top of that one, and a couple of steps down is the Cardinals. The first one that comes to mind is the studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood. I think I would do that. I think that would be very fun, and it's not repetitive as much because it's 45 minutes, so you got to think that you're only probably doing 6 run-throughs a day, and there is the element of something different could happen. Now that I also say that as well, the other one that I would possibly do would be the Kilimanjaro Safaris at Animal Kingdom. I'm going to just go straight to it. Pixar would be my 1, Star Wars would be my 2, and Marvel would be my 3. Marvel has really kind of fallen off for me over these last few years, so that one's kind of easy for me to eliminate here. It's a tougher one between Pixar and Star Wars, but Pixar just has so many great films, especially those first, I call like that first core 13, 14 films. They did such a great job with them, and those would be the ones I wouldn't want to lose. Maliboomer. I'm just going to go out and say it straightforward. I loved everyone's answers, but the Maliboomer, number 1, no question. The number 2 is a Disneyland focused one, and it is the People Mover. That track needs to have something done to it. It is incredible that thing has been just sitting empty for as long as it has. So that would be my 1 and my 2. Pretty easy. So I might be cheating a little bit on this one, but I'm going the World Showcase. That's a land. I mean, I could spend weeks at the World Showcase just going individual countries. There's rides, there's foods, there's entertainment. I don't know if I'm cheating with that answer, but I'm going World Showcase. If that doesn't count, Galaxy's Edge is number 2 for me. Super immersive. They did a fantastic job with it. So that would be my number 2, but World Showcase is by far my number 1. Just from the aspect of it feels like its own park. This franchise should have its own park, and it's Lord of the Rings. There's so many things they could do with that park, with the world that is created, the characters, the rides. I think there is such a fan base for it. I think it would be spectacular to see. One sentence to describe Epic Universe. So this is a tricky one for me because I still haven't gone. So I'm kind of almost saying incomplete. I have a little bit of an advantage compared to everyone else that was part of this series. in the aspect of it's now officially open. When I recorded everything, it technically was not officially open. Some people had gotten in, been invited and stuff like that, and some are pass holders, so they'd seen the parks already. But now that it's open, it feels like things are changing a lot. Day by day. So I'm kind of just going incomplete. I really want to go. I guess that would be my sentence is I really want to go. But for me, overall, it's a little incomplete for me to say something fully. Favorite video I've ever made. So this series was very, very cool to make. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm all for giving people the spotlight on my channel and giving them the kudos that they deserve. There's a lot of great people in this community, a lot of great creators that don't get the respect, don't get the love that they deserve. So I loved creating this series, just in the aspect of putting it together, being able to spotlight some of my friends, some of these great creators that have been, working hard for many, many years. It came out, I thought, very, very fun and very well, and I hope it's a series that people enjoyed. Another video that comes to mind, there was a music video I created. Oh my goodness, this was probably beginning of 23, and like nobody saw it. It went nowhere. But it was really fun to make, and the transitions were really fun. But overall, I'm a big component of the fact of I just love creating, and any video that I create that people enjoy, it's a 2 thumbs up. That's the goal of this, is for you guys to enjoy it, be entertained. That's what TikTok and these social medias are really all about, is connecting with people and, finding something that can entertain. So I hope that some of my videos do that. I have no idea. Comment down below if you have any ideas. I really have no idea. Donald Duck has always been one of my favorites. The Stormtroopers are super entertaining. I love when Stitch is out. And then recently, I was able to meet Wally. I know that was a limited time only type of situation for Earth Day, but meeting Wally was really, really cool, and got a picture on that one. So I'll go with those 4. What's my coffee order? I don't really drink coffee at all. But when we get to the fall season, I will get a pumpkin spice latte for the seasonal purposes of it. There's a couple drinks around Christmas as well, like the gingerbread ones and things like that are kind of fun to pick up here and there. But I'm not much of a coffee drinker. So I've always been a big, big fan of Trader Sam's. Going back to my home park here at Disneyland, it's kind of my escape place. If I just kind of want to peel away from the parks, peel away from California, I go hide at Trader Sam's. It's just a cool feeling out there by the pool. Get my favorite drink. It's got good food. Can just sit by the bar. They also have Dole Whips there. So I've always been a fan of Trader Sam's. And if you're lucky enough to be inside the restaurant, it's super interactive with all the things that are happening with the different drinks getting ordered. I highly recommend experiencing it at some point. Most famous brand or person to interact with my account. So early on, when I first started in 2021, I got Disney parks to interact. That was pretty cool very early on. I've also had a very weird string of sports teams, and especially sports teams in Detroit. Detroit Red Wings have interacted. Detroit Lions have interacted. But I've had a few sports teams. The one thing that kind of sucks about TikTok is it doesn't tell you, like, you can see, like, your last, like, I think it's like 100 people that have followed you or something like that. But, like, it doesn't show you anything beyond that. So I may have people following me or have interacted on my lives and things like that, and I have no clue. I just had a friend. It's a fun story to tell. I just had a friend. I'm trying to get to Legoland. I want to go to Legoland, so I was checking out Legoland's account and kind of just snooping around, being like, who they following. They're following one of my friends. I messaged her like, wow, that's really cool. And she's like, I had no clue that was the case. Sorry, Lego, not Legoland. That was a straight Lego, big account. And it was like, but no one actually knows. It's a pain. I wish I knew who was actually following me because it'd be really fun uh, to see who's been, in my lives and things like that. It's one of the hardest things about lives is you have no idea who's actually there and who you're talking to. So it's a really tricky thing. It's actually social media as a whole. You don't know who's viewing your account. But those Detroit sports, some other sports teams, Disney parks. I'm going to start with this. They are different. It is hard to compare the two, but I will say with the add-in of Epic Universe, even though I've never been there and I've never been to those Universals over there, it sure feels like Orlando has a lot more stuff at this point. Um, I have to give the edge to Orlando, and it really goes to the fact that when I get to Disney World, it feels like I've been transported to a different planet. It is a complete removal from the world. Um, and I'm guessing Universal is probably a pretty similar thing. I love the fact that, in such a short distance, you have the Universal SeaWorld and Disney World. I've heard their Legoland's further away. But I mean, Southern California, everything is super spread out. I mean, just getting from Disney to Universal could be a 2-hour commute. And I get we have Magic Mountain, but that's way up there as well. I think at this point, Orlando has the edge. Well, I could go quite deep into this one. Disneyland, I'm going to just start out. The Tomorrowland situation has basically turned into a joke at this point. The Tomorrowland at Disneyland is not in good shape. Take Space Mountain out of it, and I don't know. I don't know. You got one building that is basically not being used at all. You got a theater not being used at all. You have a track that hasn't been touched in 22 years. There doesn't seem to be a plan. We've gone to multiple D23s, and we're getting multiple announcements of things happening all over the world. But Disneyland's Tomorrowland is kind of falling apart. So that's one thing I'm not a big fan of, is the fact that that's just kind of getting ignored. And then the other thing too that I'll say I'm not a big fan of, and it was mentioned a little bit earlier, is the food is, in my opinion, they just seem to be doing a lot of testing. There's a lot of testing, but and I get you can test from time to time, but it feels like it's been 4 years of testing, and a lot of stuff that comes out is just weird, and it's just not good, and it's like, cool, let's throw things on a dartboard. I mean, who remembers it was like it was the PB&J mac and cheese. I mean, you just looked at it and you're just like, this is a bad idea. And I mean, sure, it was there for 2 months and gone, but it's like, how does that even get to the floor? It'll look gross. I mean, it just looked gross. I'm sure there's more, but those are the first things that really, really come to mind. I mean, on a much bigger scale, bigger scale, I'm not totally thrilled with how the parks have been run the past 5 years. I just think that there's a lot of things that are happening that are very, very money driven. With now, Lightning Lane being, a thing, and prices raised like crazy, and, just over the past couple of years, things have really gotten out of control, in my opinion. But it just feels that it's every decision is, okay, what's the bottom line? There's not a lot of, okay, what do the fans want? Even this 70th celebration that's come out, everything seems money driven, and everything feels like, there's no creativity. It's just, all right, well, that worked 10 years ago. Let's bring it back. We still have everything in storage. This costs no money. And even when money needs to be distributed, it seems like, okay, we're just going to cut it. So that's kind of discouraging, of just Everything feels so money driven, and it's kind of sad. So not a big fan of that, especially recently. And I wish that there could be more imagination there. Something I give a lot of credit to Universal as of recent. There's been a lot of imagination there and using their IPs in new ways, and Epic Universe, and yeah. So on a much bigger scale, I say I'm pretty disappointed in that. Most famous person I've seen in the parks. So the one that comes to mind is Brie Larson. Brie Larson literally stood right in front of me. This was a few years back now, I believe. That would be Back to the Future. Simpsons is going to have to be doing something here shortly. I would just bring back Back to the Future. I loved that ride when I was a kid. Bring it back. Pirates of the Caribbean. Absolutely love Pirates. Love the vibes. Love the fact I could just chill on there for 15 minutes. There's never a day that I never want to get on it. So Pirates of the Caribbean is the easy pick for me on that one. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if I would retheme a ride, it would be Autopia. There's a lot that needs to be done with this ride, but I know there's been different talk of like a Wreck-It Ralph or things like that over the years. But it would be cool to see some sort of a retheming with Autopia. It's just, for me, it just runs flat. I mean, I would get rid of it completely, but that's probably the only attraction right now at this point that I look at and say, maybe. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Subscribe down below. Comment anything that you want about this video. Share it out. Everything helps. But thank you guys so much. I hope this has been entertaining. Thank you so much for all of your interactions and engagement throughout this series. Tell me if you want me to do it again. A lot of content to come. See y'all soon.